Tony's Show of the Day.
Hello and welcome back. I'm wearing flannel and it's Tony's week, which must mean it's Show of the Day time. I'm going to try and talk about as many of the musicals that are going to be on the Tonys this week as I possibly can, and we're starting off with Come From Away. I've mentioned a couple times now, this show really surprised me. It really went against my expectations for it. And, you know, it's a show that has had plenty of out-of-town previews. There's no secret about what the show is about, and I just hadn't looked up much about it until the Broadway cast recording came out, and I was blown away by it. And I've been trying to unpack this a little bit because it's not very often that my preconceptions of a show are so drastically changed upon listening to it. I certainly go in with an open mind and can change my opinions on a couple things, but this was night and day based on what I expected and what I got. And I think part of the reason is this was very clearly like a chairs and ensemble pretend land kind of show. The genre of this show, Come From Away, not like the content, but like the execution of it all, and the, which I guess is kind of tied to its content in a certain way. The idea of like a ensemble of people playing a bunch of different characters with, you know, a bunch of different chairs and a bunch of different tables and like just a couple hats and put on a vest, and then that combined with how direct address informs this show. Every other line is like, I'm turning to the audience and I'm telling you a thing. This style of show, these uses of theater can work well, but I find are often used as a crutch in other pieces of theater and performance because they're so easy, right? I mean, how many crappy movies do you know that start out with, like, a freeze frame, and it's like, well, this is me, I know you're wondering how I got here. It's like that sort of thing. It's an easy way into your story, and I think that really informed my preconceived notions of this show, but this show does it. It's very appropriate for this show. This show uses this direct address ensemble show to great effect, and I think a lot of that has to do with it's a show about humanity, and this format puts the humans in front, if that makes sense. And I think it's this direct address and multiple characters that also lets the show turn on a dime so quickly, and that really increases the emotional impact. I mean, like one of the numbers that always gets me, it's the second number, Blankets and Blankets, or whatever the heck it's called, where, you know, very early on in the song, it's, you know, about how we can help, and there's that chorus that comes back so many times. It's like, I need something to do because I can't watch the news anymore. Like, that line, that gets to me. That's like, yeah, on September 11th, that's what it felt like. I can't watch the news anymore. I need something else to do. And so that, you know, is sad and deep, but then, you know, by the middle or the end of the song, you can run to the jokes where, you know, it's like, for Christ's sake, stop sending toilet paper to the Lions Club. And, like, that's all, it's all in the same song. And, you know, the emotional roller coaster that this show can take you on makes each end of the roller coaster that more dramatic. Because you swing one way and then you swing back the other. It makes you feel that whole journey between them, I think. And it happens in almost every song. And I really do think the moral of the story is that, you know, life goes on. Humanity doesn't only survive, but thrives, even in the face of insurmountable tragedy and obstacle. And, you know, that's the question is always, why do this show today? And I was thinking about this, but the seniors who graduate high school this year were born in, 1999? You know, they were 2 when September 11th happened. In a couple years, high school kids won't have experienced this national tragedy. And, of course, not that we want them to have to experience such a tragedy, but it really has informed our new millennia as an America, as a country. And, you know, this show captures a really specific flavor of it that you can't quite do in other forms. A couple unsorted thoughts to round us out. I think the Titanic double joke in this show is one of the most perfect comedy lines in all of musical theater. So, like, it starts out in 28 hours when they're stuck on the planes and they put on all the movies and then, would put on Titanic and it's like, oh God, we had nothing else to put on, so we put on Titanic and they sing Near, Far, Wherever You Are, which is funny and it's a reference and like it also helps put the show in context, so it's got that pop culture thing going for it. But then it comes back later when they're singing karaoke at the bar and someone sings Near, Far, Wherever We Are, and it becomes this wonderful holistic reference that like, we are stuck in this unknown place and we're making a reference to it, and it's a callback to a joke that happened earlier, and it's funny in context in both of the songs, but then there's also the whole connotation of, the Titanic, another long-distance travel that encountered a really serious tragedy in the middle of it. Like, it's this perfect little ball of wonderfulness that I think embodies the whole show. Nitpicky lyrical things, because it wouldn't be me if there weren't nitpicky lyrical things. In Me in the Sky, there's this wonderful repetition of suddenly this and suddenly that and suddenly that and how things are changing so quickly. And then you get the ending of one of the phrases where she sings, and somehow I'm 51. And it's the only one where it's somehow, and I really wish it was suddenly, because then it would be like, you're never suddenly 51. It takes 51 years to become 51. But the repetition and like, oh, and it happened and now I'm old, would be, I think that would have been a better choice. I wonder why they chose somehow. The other one that bugs me so much, 28 hours over an entire day. That phrase, I wish it stayed out of town in tryouts. I don't know. It's something about entire day. The musical phrasing doesn't make the syllables fall just right, and it happens so much that it really sticks out to me. And my last unsorted thought, which I think is really important, you always wonder, I always wonder this at the Tony Awards, is like, what are the lives of these shows after the Tonys? Certainly it'll have a Broadway run that'll last however long, a couple years to maybe a couple decades, who knows. But Come From Away, very specifically, I think is going to see a fabulous post-Broadway life with a very specific kind of regional and community theater. It is like tailor-made for a whole bunch of dinner theater and Park District theater and like all sorts of those kind of hobbyist theater groups. And I think they're going to be able to do it really well. And it's going to be wonderful that this show is very clearly going to have a life beyond this run. Come From Away. Yeah, it's a show that gives me real emotions, very visceral, actual feelings. It's a weird thing to say about a musical, but it's not like you're trying to relate to these fictitious characters on stage. It is real, so it feels real, and that, it adds an extra something to the emotions. Yeah? Great. Come From Away. Go listen to it.